Very good evening to all the members. Thank you for being here. It's our privilege to welcome on board the third session panelists. Thank you, sir, very much. For those, some people have come late, so I would like to reintroduce Mr. Clifford, who will be presiding the third session as a session chairman. Leading the third session is Mr. Clifford Patro, who is a senior partner and leader, data and AI, IBM Consulting APAC, with over 20 years of experience in digital consulting and AI-driven business transformations. He leads strategic initiatives across the Asia-Pacific region, enabling enterprises to scale through data and AI. He's a member of CI Institute of Logistics and Advisory Council. It's our privilege to welcome you on board, sir.
I would like to invite my fellow panelists also to join me here. So, Samuel, if you can come in. Round of applause, team, for Samuel. Ramit, can join me here. Yogesh. Okay, and Kaushik, you can join me. Okay, I'm not, yeah. Okay, come. So, good afternoon and welcome to the third session, as it is called. What we're going to really focus on in this session is very practical examples of how our panelists have experience of getting to or innovation that is getting them closer towards the net zero supply chains. We have got a diverse panel here. We have panel members who are working across industries, right, from cement to consumer to retail. And we also have panel members here who are working not only in the local supply chains, but also in the global supply chains. So they can compare and contrast between what is happening in India vis-a-vis what is happening in other parts of the world, where are we better off. And one of the things I was very surprised to note as I was discussing with all the panelists is in India, we seem to be in a better position than many other economies as far as green supply chain goes, which is very fascinating because if you look at mobile, we were one of the we leapfrogged, right? We now are probably one of the best mobile, markets in the world. If you look at digital payments and UPI, we are probably one of the best in the world again, right? So in many areas, India has been able to leapfrog, and maybe the green supply chain is an area where we can do the same. And this is something which, from our panelists, we can hear about the kind of innovations that is happening in India and what we can do. I didn't introduce the panel. I'll go through a round of introduction as we start. But I really wanted to, before I get into the introduction of the panelists and so on, I wanted to ask you all a few questions, right? So the first question I wanted to ask is, how many of you, by show of hands, belong to an organization that has a sustainability roadmap? How many of you belong to an organization where there is a sustainability roadmap? So quite a few, yeah, quite a few, right? Okay, second question. How many of you think that your customers care about sustainability? How many of you think that your customers care about sustainability? Little lesser number of hands, but yes, some hands. And how many of you feel that we as organizations should move faster towards our sustainability goals? Yeah, a lot more, yeah? So what I've heard from the audience poll and a quick assessment is, a number of organizations have sustainability roadmaps. We feel that our customers probably are not so much concerned or not so much, let me put it, willing to pay for sustainability. That's the second thing. And all of us think that we should move much faster. Yeah. So, which is good because some of the research that we have done also shows that customers and employees care a lot about sustainability. And while in the past surveys we have seen that people are not willing to spend more on sustainability, but we're finding the trend is changing a bit now. People earlier used to not spend at all. They used to talk about sustainability, but not willing to spend. In the recent surveys that we have done, we're finding out that people are willing to spend a little bit on sustainability. Now that could vary by industry. So it depends on some industry, they may be more willing, some industry less willing. But we're seeing a shift happen from what people used to do in the past. We also see that number of organizations have sustainability goals. When we ask organizations around, we find that there is a sustainability roadmap, there is a sustainability goal, but many organizations are not moving as fast as they want to. And I think this is also reflected in the room as we speak about, right? So I think some of these challenges, we're going to talk about the experiences, the challenges in our panel today. And what I will ask each of our panelists to do is a quick introduction of yourself, the role that you play in your organization, and also your experience of taking initiatives that take you towards a net zero, right? If you could do that. So Kaustav, you want to start?
Sure, Cliff. Thank you. Hi all. So I'm 𝐍𝐞𝐭-𝐙𝐞𝐢𝐚 from 𝐈𝐧𝐝. So I lead the zero emission piece for 𝐈𝐧𝐝 India, along with Southeast Europe, 4 countries that I lead to. I've been here with 𝐈𝐧𝐝 for a while now, and today's discussion is more about to do with, when I speak, it's more to do with a net zero towards the last mile. As you know, the Cliff started stating that yes, India has been the forerunner, and he was using this phrase leapfrogged. Same has been with 𝐈𝐧𝐝 India, and hard to believe the facts that I'd be very happy to share, and maybe we can open the round of questions also if it's hard for most of us to digest. When it comes to the ecosystem of zero emission, globally 𝐈𝐧𝐝 India leads the path, much ahead of the curve than the other countries like China, Norway, Finland, and we are globally #1 in 𝐈𝐧𝐝. India happens to be the globally #1 company. For those who would be more, but would require clarity for 𝐈𝐧𝐝, what we do, we are basically a home furnishing company. We have the entire set of home furnishing products. So that also means that we sell larger articles like furnitures, like a bed, a sofa, which goes as heavy as over a ton even. Today, entire delivery system that we have mapped, we have made across the country. When we talk about, be that in a city like Hyderabad, Bangalore, Mumbai, Noida, Gurgaon, Delhi, Gujarat, cities like Ahmedabad, Baroda, Surat, these all cities are all 100% electric vehicle deliveries. Very hard to understand that how do we do this. We will discuss as we progress in this, in this session. Yeah, that is how we have phased out the ICE vehicles. That is how we have set the charging infra. That is how we have introduced new technologies in our system. In line to our global goals that we had set, way back in 2017, 𝐈𝐧𝐝 globally had set a mission of zero emission. And from there onwards, we started working in line to those goals. 𝐈𝐧𝐝 India started somewhere in 2017. Way back, we did not have an ecosystem in place. We were testing waters. We did not have vehicles, but then we had a global ambition to do it. I was just struggling as to figure out how do we get this done, especially in India where people just had, people those times, today we might have some apprehension, those times people did not even knew what electric vehicles are. And then the right fitment of vehicles, the kind of vehicles that had where the local manufacturers, the vehicle would topple down, the vehicle would not start, they would break down in between, the customer satisfactions would get impacted, especially when we were a new brand in India. Delivery timelines would get impacted, there were a lot of escalations, but then we put our foot down, we started experimenting. Maybe, we were not sitting on the fence that time. We started with something called a retrofitment, where we converted the diesel vehicles to electric. We tested, those ran well for first 3-4 years. We then started with something like a L3 3-wheelers, the smaller ones. We knew this is not the final full stop solution because 3-wheelers won't accommodate all my set of products. But then we need to start somewhere, somehow. So we started with the small articles. We slowly leveraged to L5. Then we moved to something like, LCV, like a Tata Ace. And today we have the largest of the vehicles. Today I was talking to Yogesh-ji, just before this session, where we are today having, around 50-55 tonner vehicles running across, the intracity transport that we do through electric vehicles. Mind you, these are over, 200, 300, 350 kilometer plus vehicles that we have been doing, and we have been doing this consistently for last 10, 11 months. We have been doing this. So all support has been there, but through through all the ecosystem and the partners that we have. And also a lot of benefit that we have been given by the government also. The government has also been putting a lot of, focus in this segment, be that a subsidy, be the charging, the electricity cost that we get discounting on the EVs. And that's how together we came up. We are happy to discuss on this further in this session, while I, pass it on to Yogesh-ji for his piece.
Thank you. Yogesh, if you could just introduce yourself and your role as well, yeah?
Myself, Yogesh Mehta. I am Joint President in 𝐍𝐞𝐭, looking after logistic function. Our business is commodity. In commodity, we contribute a lot by using fly ash, which is waste material. And we recently started EV, and it's quite successful. We are running around 9,000, 10,000 kilometers, and it's quite successful, 2 years experience. And same way, we are using a lot of sludge, spent acid, and this is not only costly material, but it's profitable also. We are able to produce, we have replaced almost all gypsum, which is around 8%. Now it is subsidized by using this limestone, which is not being used in mines, and it is mixed with the spent acid, and we are producing our own gypsum. So these kind of many things we are doing. Long list is there. We can discuss later. In short, I am finishing here. Thank you.
Thank you, Yogesh. Ramit,
Yeah, sure. So I'll just introduce myself and my organization a little bit, and then we'll take it to the discussion. So I'm Ramit Mahajan. I have about 25 years of experience, sales, marketing, supply chain, operations, and so on. So right now I look after the IMEA customer experience for 𝐄𝐝𝐢𝐭, and also I look after the Indian subcontinent supply chain for 𝐄𝐝𝐿. A couple of words about 𝐄𝐝𝐿. So it's a German company. We have multiple product lines. We have shampoos and hair colors by the name of Schwarzkopf. We have laundry products, which we've not yet launched in India. And we also have a lot of adhesive products which go into consumer as well as industrial lines. So that's about myself and the organization.
Yeah. My name is Samuel Kirberaj Albert. I'm leading the customer service and logistics function for Colgate-Palmolive. Colgate, as you know, is in oral care, toothpaste, toothbrush, mouthwash, and so on. It's also in home care and personal care globally, and also in pet nutrition. Happy to share some thoughts on how some initiatives are there from our perspective, both in upstream as well as in downstream warehousing, logistics space, and some thoughts on how we can collaborate going forward.
yeah, so Samuel, let's stay with you. We heard Kaustubh and Yogesh talk about the use of EVs and how they are using better energy practices in their companies. In moving towards net zero supply chains, what are some of the initiatives that you all are doing?
Yeah, so in terms of net zero supply chain, as a company, there has been a significant focus globally on becoming net zero. So there's a pathway that has been defined right at the corporate level, so that there are clear targets and goals that the company has committed, both on all the 4 fronts of what net zero tells. One is near term, longer term, mitigation of emissions outside the value chain as well. So there are clear guidances in terms of, in 2025, there's a commitment to reduce 20% vis-a-vis a baseline of 2020. That moves to 42% by 2030 and about 90% in 2040. So there are clear organizational directives that define where we need to be at different milestone levels. Secondly, on scope of scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3 emissions as well, there have been work based on that in terms of having a clear plan of what is going to be our renewable energy roadmap. And what are we going to do in terms of how we are going to incorporate practices which will reduce our carbon footprint. Case in point, for example, I lead this function, and wherever I'm going to set up a new warehouse, one of the things that I look into is that, does this particular new location has the ability, at least if not already have something that is in solar, so that we reduce the footprint even as we go inside. So these are some things that at a very nascent stage we're looking at to incorporate when we get into this journey. While there has been some significant progress that has been made in the last 5 years, there is still some space to go in that, and we can discuss about it as we go.
Okay, thank you for that. Ramit, again, some of the initiatives that your organization is undertaking towards net zero.
So we have a clear policy. 2030 we want to be net zero globally. The good thing is in India, out of 4 factories, 3 factories are already net zero. The 4th is going to be this year itself. So we are Clifford was saying, in India we are actually ahead of the curve. As far as the factories goes, that's a clear policy we have. We also have a very clear organization structure that's pivoted towards sustainability. So we have very senior level positions which are focused completely on sustainability. So it runs at a very high level in the org structure, which ensures that the focus on sustainability stays. Besides that, we also even the products that we have. So from our there was this point that you spoke about with the audience. I can say that our customers care a lot about sustainability. We have pretty much proven it, and a lot of times when we go to our customers, they want us to talk about sustainability. So I see that change quite a bit.
Okay, thank you. So we've seen some of the examples that our panelists have quoted. Do you have any question for the panelists in terms of what they're doing on net zero? Anyone has any questions before we go forward? Any question for any of our panelists?
My question is to Yogesh sir. Sir, what do you feel is EV a long way sustainable model for cement industry, which has a huge volume to being a commodity product?
Good question. It's quite successful. My experience of 2 years running on the highway, each truck has run around 2 lakh kilometers. And there is no sign of battery deterioration. Now, another thing, the diesel cost, say for a route, 10,000 rupees. This is costing hardly 3,000 rupees, electricity cost. This 3,000 is when I am paying at one junction 14 rupees per unit. Okay. So this, if we support this by a solar farm, which we are going to do, we have, say, take another direction, we have 1100 metric ton megawatt capacity, out of which 350 is dedicated for sale. Out of 750 megawatt, 80% is green energy. Waste heat generation is 283 megawatt, 242 is solar and wind balance. Now this solar is going to be given at each and every plant by way of big farms. So the cost of generation will be 50 paisa per unit. Now you can imagine if we spend 10,000 rupees for a small trip of 180 kilometer diesel, it will be replaced by 500 to 700 rupees per trip. This kind of opportunity is with us, and such high EBITDA in logistic cost, and logistic cost will contribute a lot to EBITDA. This is my say.
Okay. Thank you. That is that's an interesting question, because here we spoke about EVs as a sustainable way of transport, and we spoke about solar energy charging EVs, which is again sustainable, right? So it builds up on that. Any other questions from the audience before we move ahead? Yeah, go ahead. There's a mic coming your way to your here.
Everyone, I'm Nayan Arora. I work with Estée Lauder companies. My question is to Samuel. You spoke that you are leading customer service and logistics for Colgate. So I want to understand, we spoke a lot about logistics today. I want to understand what are some automations and some improvements that we can bring in customer service, order management in terms of ERP tools that we're using. Do you have any projects that you have led, or any insights on that part?
I think the order management space in general is evolving very fast even as we speak. Though not related to net zero here, but for example, the explosion of quick commerce that has happened in the last couple of years. If we imagine ourselves, have we ever thought we would buy some daily needs 10, 15 years back via app like that? Many of us would have said no. But today, it has become so much. Just to be very on a personal score, I've just moved into Bombay, and the last 2 months I have not gone into a store, and I'm not joking. I've not gone into a store. So that kind of space has now become the reality. Somehow our behaviors have been built. With that as a background, the order management speed at which things have been happening is quite fast. For example, I was just having an offline chat just before where we were talking with one of the panelists in the previous cohort. He was saying that all order management is now happening via WhatsApp. You know, the AI is now there, the group chats are being consolidated to make an order cart, and then it has been ordered. In the logistics space, he showed some WhatsApp groups in which the truck placements can happen at a consolidation of AI. So we are really moving fast on that space, but I think there's an exciting space now, here and now, to look forward. Even internally, and I've been talking with my team, and we had a discussion even as we speak yesterday, where are we going to be in the next 2 to 3 years? Given this explosion that is happening, what is it going to impact our logistical network? Should we be closer to our markets? Should we be close to our dark stores? What we need to do, that's something that's quickly evolving. That in turn, if I envisage, will have an impact on what net zero and sustainability also is going to be in the longer run.
Yeah, interesting. I was speaking to a colleague of mine, and obviously, we were talking about our childhood, and we said, what was quick commerce in our time? And we said, our mom used to pat us on the back and say, go down and buy this stuff and come back, right? And we used to quickly go down, buy and come back, right? So what changes have happened in our lives? I'm going to, in keeping this conversation going on, and I'll come to you in the next round as we break for questions. But one of the things that we see is India is, ahead or at par, not at a disadvantage as compared to other nations. And one of this is because of the innovations that we're driving within India. And I would like the panelists to talk a little bit about what are the innovations they see happening, or what are the innovations they would like to see happening. Now, well, we talk about innovations, and before I get to the panelists, what we're seeing globally in this entire space of innovation is something what we call as open innovation. And what is the concept of open innovation is that multiple companies are getting together to innovate. Okay, so the earlier concept of innovation was, I as an organization had a great idea, but I used to use my resources, keep it under very closed, guard, and use that innovation then for my competitive advantage. That was the model, the old model of innovation. The open innovation model is where multiple companies get together, pool their resources, and work together to do something. I'll give you an example of what we are doing in IBM along with NASA. Okay, NASA has got a lot of weather data that they collect over a period of time, and space data that they have, and so on. But they don't know what to do with the data, because obviously, of course they know what to do, but what we are bringing to them is the use of technology. So we are bringing to them some foundational models similar to large language models, but which are using weather data and the image data to start generating insights. And then we're giving a platform to developers to now develop applications on top of that so that they can be useful for people, right? So now NASA couldn't have done that on their own, neither could IBM do it on their own, but the two organizations coming together, they've created an innovation which the industry can then use. So there are examples globally of open innovation that organizations are doing. So this is something that, is something where we can collaborate with people either in India or across industries, with academic institutions. There's a lot of happening in this space that we can accelerate the pace of innovation. But I would like to hear from our panelists about what they see as good innovation happening in India, and or what they would like to see, some of the things that probably are barriers to moving fast enough. Yeah? So Yogesh, you want to start again?
Say, we were talking of EV. EV can be sustainable by, this only one thing is required, power cost should be very low. The only one thing is required, power cost should be very low. And second expectation of industry is that we should get regular supply of batteries. Batteries means lithium. If lithium is not available, then how EV will run? The whole resource all over the world is controlled by China. If they control lithium resources, then how EV will run? So this we have to ensure from global level, where policy is driving, that resource should be available to every country. Then only this can be drive. Yeah. This is my say. So expectation from EV point of view, if say, I give you an example. In Delhi, no diesel vehicle is allowed. We have to send simply either EV or CNG. What they did is, they have exempted this environment cess. of 2,400 rupees. The cost is around 45 rupees a ton. 10 rupees per ton cost is reduced in Delhi, entering a cement truck. My supply is 1 lakh metric ton. So say, if I am sending 5,000 trucks and multiplied by say, नहीं 1 लाख को सीधा 50 से गुणा कर दो, 50 लाख का सेविंग है सीधा. Same way, if we give such type of exemptions to EVs, like you are not you don't have to pay toll tax, you will be available for finance. Finance will be available at the rate of 6% instead of 8%, or you will the EV the charging stations are there. 10 acre land will be given by government on reasonable rates, and then electricity charges will be lesser at 6 rupees per unit. These types of initiatives are required, and lot of collaboration between central government and state government is required. When policies are different from state to state, which he was also telling. So these type of things we expect from the government. If we do like that, then it can go very fast.
Kaustubh, you want to add anything to what will drive innovation?
Yeah, so I will stick to the question that Cliff asked earlier about the innovation and what we have done here at a local level. Quite a few. I was just muddled to discuss which one should I put forth, because there are quite a few that we did. So today when we deliver to our customers' home, so I'm sure that all of you would deliver, and I'm sure just give a check. When the article or the item that you have ordered from IKEA, when it gets delivered, just have a peek from the window, you will see an electric vehicle there down, your place. The boxes will have a EV tag by default, because it has been, a sustainable tag. We don't speak loud that we have delivered, but we always put that as a green sticker on the box, because all of our articles to all our homes that gets delivered is through, electric vehicle. Coming to the innovation, see, innovation takes time. Innovation takes time, and there are a lot of hurdles that we come across. All of us come across, when that comes to change. Change is not easy for, anyone, be that an organization even. But thankfully here at IKEA, just to sensitize how important sustainability is, the CEO of the company happens to be the Chief Sustainability Officer. So today when we speak about anything in any of the meetings, the first agenda that we pick up is sustainability. It's not about the sales, it's not about the revenue that we first, when we open a Monday morning meeting, it's about the sustainability, how much of the climate footprint, the carbon footprint. So when we switch on our, our laptops, the first on the screen that comes is, what was the previous day, what was the, the kind of carbon that we saved. That's the kind of focus that we have been running. Again, that also leads us to a faster innovation, So today, for example, when we deliver something to our house, there's a route map that happens, right? So a previous evening or early morning, we do a route mapping as to, which pin code, which article has to go first, and that's how the vehicle would run. Along with it, we also have a global tool which is called a DMP, Delivery Management Platform, which is basis some, some algos that we have created in that. Difficult that to get implemented here in India because of the congested lane, and all those, we know the trivial parts of the maps that we face across. And to add to it, the problem about the electric vehicle is about the range. There's always a range anxiety, right? More or less the drivers have been old enough and there's not much of range anxiety, but when we do a route mapping, there's a degree of range anxiety. We understand that all the vehicles come with telematics. For people who would be not aware, telematics is something like it's a IoT based, which gives a complete health checkup of the vehicle as the vehicle, runs on wheels. So it gives you just not a typical GPS tracker, but also shows you the temperature of the batteries, the motor, the kind of acceleration, the speed limit if the driver is crossing, everything. We can check and do everything on the vehicle, and I'm sure you all too could do. So all the electric vehicles come embedded with telematics. So with innovation, what we did was, we started with DMP merging with the telematics, a global tool merging with a local telematics of the OEM or the vehicle manufacturer. We also started understanding that since there's a range anxiety, let's say a vehicle is running 120 kilometer or 130 kilometer on full charge, and there could be further pin codes, let's say at a pin code of 130 where I have to deliver a bed, right? And the moment there could be a chance that end of the day, the vehicle might run the juice and it might not get delivered. So the route planning, the innovation that we did was we started analyzing the kind of orders who started coming on a specific pin codes, on a specific day, on a specific month, or in a week. And we made it a point that the heavier articles gets delivered first. So the moment the truck lifts my hub, let's say at 8 or 7 in the morning, I make it a point that even if it's a far-fetched, I will deliver the heavier article first so that for the rest of the day, since the payload has come down, my range will increase, right? That is the first piece of innovation that we did. Because we were struggling big time. Every now and then people would say, hey, the vehicle will not, even they say 100, 120, it will break down at, maybe, even lesser. The driver would be anxious. How do I get back with the vehicle if it gets stuck on the traffic? So that kind of anxiety that we broke through this innovation that we did. The other innovation we did was also to understand the driving pattern of a driver. So we understood which set of drivers were driving at a faster pace, like 55, 60 kilometer, who would accelerate, and who were the better ones. Basis that we again put certain algos in place to understand kind of the driver, the behavioral pattern, and we started locking the speed through telematics offline. Like we sitting at office, we understood that, okay, these are the set of vehicles which are running faster. And on a city road, we don't require a 50, 60, 70 kilometer per hour speed. We don't require that. Maybe a 40 kilometers is good and safe and also healthy for the vehicle and the articles also. There's always a risk of breaking down some glass articles. So we cut down the speed. So those are the small steps that we took. We are not saying that we did great. We did a lot of big innovations. We did quite a few big innovations which are still under progress. But these small innovations which would have taken time, we did it at a faster pace, maybe 2-3 years back, and that actually resulted us with good numbers.
That's a very interesting thing. What you're saying is earlier we used to do a cost optimization whenever you did route planning and so on. Now you're also taking carbon optimization in some way and looking at route planning. So I think that is a very interesting observation.
Yeah.
Ramit, to you now, in terms of innovations, and because India is ahead, and you also said that 3 out of your 4 plants are already at net zero, India is ahead of the game. Do you think that the innovative mindset of Indians has got something to do with it? And if so, what do you think are some of the innovations that you see or you would like to see come into it?
At an organizational level, I think we are very innovative. At a personal level, I think we are very innovative. Where I would like to see more, and I think also a topic that Yogesh had taken up. So any chain, as we all know, is as strong as its weakest link, right? Now, in the logistics world, if we at least from myself, when we started our careers, our highways used to be a pain. We've come a long way since then. Our highways have really, they're on the way to becoming world class, and I think there's hardly anybody who would, kind of contest that. Yeah. The problem is the weaker chain, right? The weaker link. As soon as those trucks or as soon as those vehicles, they enter the cities, the jam starts. Right, so the end-to-end supply chain or the end-to-end time taken by that truck still remains the same, despite having world-class highways. So I would really like to see the innovation at that ground level. Again, and probably CII is a good forum to kind of have that discussion, because we really need to think about how we can have that end-to-end mindset coming in. Because, Henkel and IKEA, Shree, we will keep on driving the innovation at a company level. How do we make it end-to-end at a country level? I think that's where, to me, the real challenge lies.
I think very valid point. I mean, we are interested in the end-to-end outcome at the end of the day, right? So it's very interesting.
Yeah, I just on the innovation piece, I think I would agree as a customer, Kaustubh, when we moved into Bombay, and we were extremely dependent on the IKEA store on the other part of Navi Mumbai. Right? So, and all these green stickers did happen. So, when we see about innovation, one is about the products innovation. Like I would categorize it in 2 ways. One is product, what we use, the batteries, the solar cells, and so on. Which Mr. Yogesh also mentioned about how we use solar cells to recharge and solar generated electricity to recharge rather than burning fossil fuel to recharge. But also in terms of what we are also seeing, process innovations or how we, for example, what we are doing is that we are structured in our logistics network as to move from a manufacturing plant to one hub to an end warehouse. Now we are trying to reduce the carbon footprint to maximize our direct dispatches. When you want to reduce the carbon footprint, can I innovate in a way that I can reduce my carbon footprint directly going from my manufacturing right down, if possible, to the customer himself. So direct plant dispatches, if not direct customer dispatches. So that is something that we are looking at as an innovation. Secondly, can we go multimodal? Today I have routes spanning across from my manufacturing locations into all my warehouses. Can I look for a multimodal way? Can I go via train? Can I reduce my imprint via that? That's something that we are looking at, how we can go multimodal increasingly. We've also experimented and been successful in using alternative fuels, LNGs, biofuels. At certain routes, it is really cost effective to do that. In certain, it may not be. So those process innovations are something that we are looking at, rather other than, that sits above and over what we do in terms of going with EV and solar and so on. I think process innovation, as Ramit rightly put, right, we are all innovative. We just want to be the best. And we say Indian Jugaad is something that we are all proud of. So that is something that I think we are really, as Indians, we can really be proud of what we are doing. And that's another way of seeing process innovation above and beyond the product innovations that we have.
Okay. So you heard our panelists talk a little bit about what they're doing and also what innovations they're bringing about. I'll again open it up for questions. Anyone has any questions? There you have a question. Can we get a mic there, please?
Hi everyone, my name is Ankita. So we have been hearing about sustainability in logistics and even in manufacturing side. I wanted to understand a little bit about how we are moving towards sustainability in terms of packaging. Because like since ages, we have seen the toothpaste being packed in a plastic lamy tube, a shampoo being packed in a plastic bottle. So are we really moving towards waste management and the terms like circular economy that we hear, we have been hearing this also since quite some time now. So any, something related to that?
Yeah, toothpaste, I can say. 2025 is where Colgate Global, we have said all our toothpaste would be in recyclable tubes, lamy tubes. Earlier it used to be aluminum barrier laminates. We are going to plastic recyclable barrier laminates, and it's been implemented across. So, and that particular technology, Colgate as a company developed it and gave it open to all to follow. So any of our competitors can take and use it. So that is something that, as rightly asked by you, packaging is again a space where companies like us, and I'm sure there will be more testimonies to that, where companies are looking at ways to be part of that, bringing circularity. There are rules and regulations that are coming on that space, like plastic waste management and so on, which sort of directionally gives us where we need to go. But as you specifically asked, toothpaste, we are already there in terms of having the recyclable in all toothpaste, globally, not only in India, globally, across.
But any of the other panelists want to talk about packaging sustainability?
I can talk about as well from a Henkel perspective. So we also have a lot of focus on packaging sustainability. One, of course, the good thing is, he already spoke about that there are rules that are now in place which are focusing on packaging sustainability. What we are also doing, in our extended supply chains, so if we are sending out materials to our customers, between us and our customers, we are trying to see how we can get those packages back, especially if they are reusable, and we are sending material again and again in the same packages. So this is actually in place with quite a few of our large customers. Besides this, of course, the material itself, there's a lot of focus on having as much recyclable or even recycled material, or anything that contributes to net zero. So we, from our perspective, the packaging is very much part of our net zero policy, and we are also very much on the track.
Good evening. I am Alan from cement industry. So my question will be to Mr. Yogesh Mehta. Mr. Ajay also can add on a few inputs of his. It's basically related to rail movement. Net zero supply chain in India would have a major contribution from railways, because for cement industry, which moves volumes, rail contribution is going to make a large difference, because not every cement company is connected through coastal mode. It's only few companies who are based out of Gujarat that have coastal connectivity. So rail will be helping, because cement will be basically based at places where limestone is available as a raw material. So I'm talking about integrated units, that is full-fledged plants, not grinding units, right? So rail, the problem normally comes in one, timely supply of wagons or rakes, as we call, at loading point and again at unloading point. Because loading point, sometimes it is not available. So if it is made available in time, yes, you can load more. Otherwise, you have to shift to road, because companies will not be willing to lose on volumes, right? Likewise, movement, once it is loaded, it has to go to destination. But railways, sometimes due to their own operational, of course, there's a good improvement.
Your question I have understood.
Yeah, just a minute, sir. Yeah. There's a lot of improvement in the last 5 years, no doubt. But still, issues with crew, issues with routes persist. So second is destination handling. These are controlled by unions. The rates are very high, be it transportation, be it unloading. The government has tried its part, but again through CRWCL, that is Central Rail Warehouse siding. But that also is not working out well in some locations. So I think these are areas which, as ZRUCC member Mr. Ajay also can escalate and help, because if this gap is addressed, there's a lot of positives that will come out. Thank you.
Good. You have addressed full railway problems. Now, thing is that I can assure you one thing, which I am daily interacting with the railway board and here and there, and I am looking after logistics, cement logistics 25 years. I've started from my career from one plant, now we have multiple plants, okay. Nowadays, दोहरीकरण, ट्रैक दोहरीकरण जो हो रहा है, इलेक्ट्रिफिकेशन हो रहा है, लार्ज स्केल पे हो रहा है. Lot of electrification is going on, and after electrification and doubling of the track, now availability of wagon has increased a lot of increase. I can say you in the busy season, I used to track railway board, zonal offices for wagons. Now wagons are inside my premises and occupying my track. I cannot charge demurrage from them. They are occupying my track. So availability of wagon has increased. In few areas like central, SCR and this eastern area, problem is there, that will remain. That is because of track is less and traffic is more. Now they are creating Jharsuguda area, they are putting fourth line. The problem will be solved. And as far as connection is concerned, Railway has brought a very good policy. Pradhan Mantri Gati Shakti Yojana. That is very good. We don't have to एक एकड़ वाले के पास में घूमने का जरूरत नहीं है. We don't have to wander here and there to buy the land. We pay to the railway and railway will acquire it. And it will be very fast. So this problem can be solved for connectivity. Not depending on our own people for acquiring the land, we can pay money, and within 1 year, my 7 projects are going on Pradhan Mantri Gati Shakti Yojana. We have paid money and forget. So these problems will be solved. It's a country problem, and gradually it will improve. Unloading में तो अपन लोग ही गड़बड़ करते हैं. Wagon से direct माल भेजने के चक्कर में we are sending directly from the wagon. So wagon will be stranded. So we have to unload the fast. We do like same thing. We all cement companies do the same thing. I know it.
Oh, okay, just let's get on to the next question. Yeah.
Hi. Yeah, my name is Subrata Banerjee. I am from AFL Global. So my question is to Samuel, Ramit or Costa. Like, as you are talking about sustainability, and you are talking about some multi-model facilities for each and every organizations which are looking into for future perspectives. So, like, you are the manufacturing companies who are most probably trying to do different model to do sustainability in the future as current scenario. So, just like to know from each and everyone how you are planning to do sustainability in terms of multi-fulfillment center model facilities, if you are going to do in terms of inventory management, in terms of sustainability, and if you are planning to do some planning perspective on production part, so what is your thought process on that?
Yeah. So when I meant multimodal, I meant both road and rail transport. That is one. Wherever we are seeing opportunities, and that's a constant day in and day out exercise, we see for availability of rakes to make sure that we have a lesser carbon footprint, so that we move from X to Y in the lowest carbon footprint possible. Secondly, in terms of our customer shipments, in metros, there are metros across the country where all our customer shipments happen via EVs. For example, Delhi, by design, right, we are there. In cities like Chennai, we have started. In cities like Bangalore, Mumbai, we're again starting our experiments into that, where we are having customer shipments with EV vehicles that's running. So in terms of sustainability for customer fulfillments, those are some of the initiatives that have already been taken. As I would say, as the snowball becomes bigger and bigger, and when more and more in the ecosystem comes into that kind of a space where they want to use EV, it becomes viable for the transporters whom we work with to also to work into that space. That would mean that it will just getting bigger and bigger, more people will come into it, more people will be wanting to invest into buying an EV and making it a viable transport option. So I'll just leave that there in terms of going a different mode of transport. So much so that if you want to move from, say, somewhere in west of India, if you want to go into Bangladesh, there are two ways. You can either do it transport, or you can do it via across the sea. It's just that managing your transit times and inventories, right? So we can do it both ways. So not necessarily one mode is less carbon footprint than another. You need to evaluate it in every lane and every possible method. But in terms of customer fulfillment, we can go multimodal, we can go EVs in small. EVs, we were having a small discussion, Kaustubh and Yogesh are probably the better people to address that. What we have seen is that in shorter hauls, like as I said, the customer shipments from Mumbai, in Mumbai to all the stockists there, or in Chennai, or in Bangalore, or in Delhi, it is possible because the range is making it possible for customer shipments to happen via electric vehicles. But whereas we go long haul, the recharging infrastructure that is across the road may be present in certain lanes, may not be still as yet in certain. So we may have to take it case by case basis. But I would leave it at there, and probably other panelists can do it.
Yeah. No, I just want to keep the conversation going on, and I think this is a good segue into what we want to talk about next. We spoke about the initiatives that are undergoing, that organizations are undertaking. We've also spoken about what innovations they're doing. But there are also barriers. There are also, challenges that they have to overcome. And I think, Yogesh did start by speaking a little bit about that. We spoke about, national versus state and any clashes on that. We spoke about the power cost and so on. There are a number of such challenges, and I wanted the panel to talk about what are the barriers that they see in us moving faster towards the net zero. Where are the challenges that we need to address? Some of them could be addressed by organizations. Some of them would be needed to be addressed by policies, by governments, either state or central, right? So, anyone wants to take a first stab? Ramit, you want to talk?
I can go, yeah. So I mean, the first one I already spoke about, right? The end-to-end piece, where I think it's a policy, it's an infrastructure topic which we really need to focus on. I think maybe I can just add to that. One. We all know India is not a very rich country. India is not a rich country. India is a poor country. And sustenance comes before anything else. So a lot of times, for many reasons, people do cut corners when it comes to sustainability. And, a lot of you did say that the customers don't always pay. In a country like India, the customers don't always pay. So that's clearly a barrier. However, it's changing. It's changing right in front of us. It's one, I can tell you, even to my logistics teams, the conversation is no longer just about cost. The conversation is clearly about sustainability and cost. So I think it also, from my perspective, from an organizational perspective, the more we can bring focus on sustainability, it helps. From a country perspective, of course, we do what we can, but the government and all of us need to play our part.
Yogesh, anything from a barriers perspective that you think, in addition, I know you already mentioned about the state and anything else that comes to mind here?
Yeah, these points are the same. A national policy is required. A national policy in which coordination between state and central government is required. The same thing we experience in railway also. We same thing experience in railway also. State government and central government, there is always a problem. Now thing is Gati Shakti, that the state government purchases the land. And central government has named the policy, and now state government is bound to purchase the land. The same type of rule is required for acquisition of land, cheap electricity, and exemption from the toll tax. These are the things which has to be addressed for EV perspective.
Yeah.
And you can add.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, you can add further, one of the challenges that we see sometimes is there's a viability gap, right, between saying, and Ramit mentioned this point, when I look at cost and a cost focus versus a sustainability focus, sometimes there's a viability gap there. And that viability gap needs to be bridged somewhere, okay? And some organizations are taking that leap and saying we will go ahead. But what do you do if there's a viability gap, which means that it needs to be bridged, and therefore are there policies that could come in place which could ensure that makes it easier for companies to follow a sustainable route? Yeah? But your things on the barriers, Kaustubh, would be useful.
Yeah, so Cliff, there are two questions that has been, there are two parts to this. The first, let me first answer, the question that, the barriers piece, and I will just gently touch upon the gentleman's first, question when he was talking about, I just want to clarify. I understood your question to be more to do on various modalities of logistics, the first mile, mid mile, and last mile. Was it that you were hinting at? Right. So yeah, challenges are there. And as previously we mentioned, intercity still remains to be the low-hanging fruit for all of us. It does not, as we have transitioned, it does not require rocket science. Today we don't discuss, the minds don't discuss about what would happen if there's a breakdown, what would happen if that, we don't discuss about it. So it's more about the availability, more about optimization that we discuss, the utilization of the vehicle. We don't, so we have moved forward of those problems. Middle mile still remains to be a challenge a bit. First mile, kind of, because we don't have ample, opportunities or options also. While I was talking to, behind this walls, we were talking with Mr. Yogesh about a couple of, we have been experimenting together. He had experimented one vehicle, the same vehicle that I have been experimenting with. A very class case study, not for this forum, just have the same vehicle he has been using for, I guess, for 2 years. So the same vehicle between two city or two states, Yogesh has been using, and I have been using for last 10 months, I would say, right? And the performance has been startlingly different. So when we were talking and there were a lot of gaps like, oh, aisa bhi, means how could you do this? And we would say, how could you do this? Like, the same vehicle performing differently, almost on the same route, almost on the same kind of delivery modalities. I would call it as first mile. So that still remains to be an unknown devil for us, I would say. It's still not yet sorted out. When it comes to mid mile, yeah, there are options, and I would say a couple of us, one of the panelists was not there, but I could say on his behalf also, 𝐺𝐴𝑠 Cement, and we have been experimenting quite a bit on the middle mile also, right? And that leads me to the middle mile challenges that he mentioned about the government challenges, and also the first question that gentleman at the back asked in terms of the price viability. Is it viable to Mr. Yogesh? So I will club these three things. In the middle mile today, what we are experimenting is IKEA has always been like a potato field setup, which is always outside city, right? So, and that has been the concept throughout for last 83 years, 80 years plus has been the concept of our founder, 𝐿𝐴, that we wanted the stores to be outside the city. People come, spend time, have good food, and spend the entire day. And that's the reason why it has always been extreme. But with changing times, we have to get closer to the customer. It was not bygone are those days when people had so much of time to 8-9 hours, spending. So we are trying to get closer to the customer, wherein which we mean is maybe a mall or a pickup point which is near to your place. So we target a couple of spots in a city. So you order it online and we will deliver to that spot, and maybe you can come in your vehicle, pick it up and go. So let's say that we are targeting about a mall, let's say, which is, near to your place. So definitely I have to use a vehicle to transport that order of yours, and I will combine the other orders, other customer orders, and I will put it in a vehicle and I will get it to that mall. I would put it to that mall, and then at my place in the mall, you guys could come and collect it. That's a plain simple formula. We have been doing this with our electric vehicles, but then the challenge came wherein malls, not all the malls are the malls that we are shortlisting, because we need malls which are good, which are central, which means those could also be a couple of years old malls. Not all of them have got charging infra, right? And that's a bigger challenge, because today when I go and spot a place, the government, I would request the government, and I would go to the government to, hey, you please help me, because the vehicle has come, I have to download, the articles, that would take some time, the vehicle has to go back, and I don't have charging left in that vehicle. That's the mid-mile challenge that I'm facing, right? And I'm sure we are discussing, and with every problem there are multiple solutions, the solutions will be there, we'll be able to figure this out. But yes, mid-mile is, we are working, and I think in a couple of months' time, across the ecosystem in India, we'll be able to figure that out. Answering to, that question about and also what Cliff mentioned about the cost and the government intervention. So when we say government, for everyone's understanding, we are talking about two governments here. We are talking about a central government, we are talking about a state government, right? So we don't see any lack of intention or, the propensity to float good, viable models of financing or supporting, clean circular ecosystem. That's very clear. Central government has, for longest period, has been subsidizing, the vehicles, be that a two-wheeler, be that a four-wheeler. We have been subsidizing, the government has been subsidizing in the name of FAME 1 and FAME 2 policy. Quite a few, countries like China has already stopped that. China started subsidizing, Norwegian countries stopped subsidizing that. India will still continue to be, except we have taken a pause for two-wheelers for a while. So that's a subsidized piece that central government is passing on, and then there's a state government subsidy also. So a state government also passes on, basis the invoice, basis the dealer's GST certificate and everything, basis the registration that you do, the state government also passes. Now that is where the problem also comes in. Different state governments have got different policies. Few state governments, like in Maharashtra, it is the first X number of vehicles will get subsidy. Right. In couple of states, we have kind of segment of vehicles that would get subsidized. Not everyone would get subsidized, right? So we can't handpick, the places where a two-wheeler might get subsidized, a four-wheeler might not. That's not in alignment with all the states. So that is where maybe a policy intervention from, the other stakeholders could help bring a parity, to it. Coming to, the cost efficacy of it, again, when we do a cost analysis, we understand that electric vehicles are costlier. It's a no-brainer to it, like, because of the battery, the import, China import, battery, comprising of 60% of the total asset cost. The vehicle is obviously 2.5 to 3 times capex-wise, it's costlier, right? And also the rate of interest. The rate of interest for a diesel vehicle that he was mentioning is around 7 to 8%, and electric vehicle happens to be around 12% kind, right? There's a delta of 4%. And why there's a delta of 4%? Because it's not known as to how much of the life cycle none of us has seen. A life cycle throughout after the loan because we know the diesel vehicle would run the first 3 years, what happens, after 2 years, what happens. We know the entire journey of it. When it goes to tier 3, tier 4 cities, we know the journey. But electric vehicle is not known. We do not know the residual value of the vehicle after its life cycle, because of which there is a loan component. The rate of interest is high because there's a risk added to that vehicle. Now, how could we mitigate that, and how could we bring down the cost? So while we understand the cost is heavier, the capex wise, but we know the operational cost for an electric vehicle is much lower, right? A diesel vehicle costs around 5.5 rupees a kilometer. An electric vehicle cost around a commercial, apple to apple, cost around 70 to 80 paise. Huge gap. 5.5 rupees to 80 paise, it's a huge gap, right? We know that it's an easy way. But how do you onboard something which is so high in capex? One thing that, we have been doing, and maybe the cost economics of it is, we as companies, we as corporates, we have an upper hand for all good reasons, I would say, because we are one of the largest, adapters of these vehicles. If we are clear on our sustainability goal that we have mentioned earlier, and if the companies have, like, we partner with only those, companies who have got certain sustainability goal. Not in line to 𝐈𝐧𝐝, maybe 2030, maybe 2040, something should be there. Else, 𝐈𝐧𝐝 differs from partnering to such, we don't partner, you don't have a clear-cut goal and ambition on sustainability. Having said today, we being 𝐈𝐧𝐝 or maybe Colgate-Palmolive or Shree Cement, or Henkel, that we are there together, if I know that I have to go this path and I know that I have to be here for next 5 to 10 years time, if I could increase my contractual period, if I can have the skin in the game going forward to my financer to say, let's say there's a bank and I tell to the banker, hey, I stand behind you. I am there for this sustainability goal. My period is not for 2 years. My period is not for 3 years. I as 𝐈𝐧𝐝 come forward to say that I am there for you for the longest period, let's say 7 years, let's say 8 years, let's say 5 years. Obviously, the bank will get a comfort because a company like us or anyone, any reputed companies there behind, they will get that confidence. The cost of capital comes down, and imbibing that vehicle and putting it to the ecosystem becomes much more easier than rather than working for the logistic partners who might not be, they also have their own challenges and they actually struggle a lot on rate of interest. If we companies come forward, support them with extended contract, put our skin in the game, it becomes much more viable. Trust me, it becomes viable.
Yeah. That's interesting, because that's a question where you're taking the value chain approach and really, working across the value chain. I know there are a couple of questions. We're running out of time, but okay, if we take a question, yeah? Anyone?
Can I go ahead? I have one question.
Quick.
Yeah, so I just wanted to touch base on the topic of e-waste, because we are talking about EVs and, the future ahead. So do we have the adequate infrastructure to accommodate that kind of a challenge as well?
Yeah, we have quite a few, thanks to Indian government and also the corporates. So many times the question is more straight. You have been kind enough not to put a straight, hard question. You just so the question lies as to what happens to the batteries after its life cycle. That's a straight, plain. Batteries always have left a lot of juice when the vehicle dies down. Let's say after a period of 7 years or 8 years, the battery still has got a lot of life in it. Might not be sufficient to run a vehicle with a payload of over a ton something, but it has left with a lot of juice. It's like a mobile, after the life cycle, the battery might not work for a couple of hours, but it's good enough for some other purpose, right? Maybe a mobile or maybe a remote kind we use at times, or maybe a quick, charge, it could run for 10, 15. So majorly what we see is, there is always an anti-dumping policy that the government of India already has. The second piece is these batteries are rather...
Now government has just launched a policy that every solar power has to store 5% of their energy into batteries. The batteries which is dumped from the electric vehicle can be used for grid storage. Yeah. We are banking on that and we are going very fast on that.
Yeah. That's one thing.
So many vehicles and that we will use for our solar storage.
So yeah, thanks. He just summed it up as one of the options. The second option that generally being used are many of the telecom towers where, the utilization of power is less. That is where these batteries get used, or been explored for the usage. So it's not that the government or the corporates, we do not know the end use of the batteries. We are aware of it. That's how we have storage systems of the batteries. We have the swapping station set in a way that whatever the batteries dies out, we have a different place to store and, use accordingly. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, quick question here for me.
Sir, my question is with Ramit Mahajan, sir. Sir, the first barrier that you said that India is a poor country and it's not a rich country. I just want to know your thought process when you say this, because as far as we all know that India is the fourth largest economy in the world, and Also, the biggest players, the foreign players like Tesla and Apple are entering into India because they think that India has a great potential as a market. So how do you come to this narrative? I wanted to know your thoughts.
Yeah, so I know there's a big online debate on this, but with all due respect, of course, India is a very quickly growing country. However, for individual companies, corporates, what really matters is the purchasing power, right? So of the individual citizens in the country, what's the purchasing power? So typically that's the metric that organizations will look at while taking a decision to enter a country. So, beyond a certain amount of money, how much of purchasing power, how many individuals are there in the country, how many families are there in the country. So that's the metric that I was talking about.
Yeah, but it's a very interesting point you brought up because, one of the Hollywood stars once said that whatever you say to describe India, if it's true, the opposite is also true. Yeah, so if you say India is the most poorest country, someone says India is also the most richest country. So there's a lot of diversity in India, and that's probably one of the opportunity and challenges of our country as well.
Correct.
Yeah.
Small question. So thanks to Mr. Kaustubh, so very insightful discussion you are talking about. So as I understand in IKEA, you have only Navi Mumbai, Worli, there is 2 centers which currently you are having. So you are talking about the last mile distribution. So how do you plan to reach out to those customers if you have any requirement for the last mile distributions?
Yeah, you are right, but just a correction. So while we are there, for certain reasons we can't disclose to which all parts we are coming here in Mumbai, but then work is on. Having said, we are also available in Navi Mumbai, Majgaon, Rabale. We are there. We have our hubs, well balanced out hubs with our charging infrastructure set. Those have been running for last 2 years. Mumbai per se, if you look at, I guess we have almost 70-75 vehicles running day in, day out on Mumbai roads, so these are the pockets where we already have our existing charging infra, along with the vehicles, along with the trained manpower and everything. We are expanding further, but as of now, I think these 3 spots are good enough. Looking at this financial year, we will expand. We are looking for other options, but I think we are well settled in these and quite a good countable numbers. And also the best part, thanks to taking up this Mumbai episode, we know the Mumbai rains we faced challenges, a couple of weeks back, the Mumbai rains. And trust me, I don't know about I won't be naming, the other part, but I have been a part of the, the other ecosystem. We know we are connected. I don't remember any company coming forward. We have been discussing that Mumbai rain, some electric vehicle broke down because of rain. There was a water logging that happened and the vehicle stopped because of rain. We did not. So we have come a long way. We have seen bad Mumbai rains and EVs getting impacted some 4-5 years back. But thanks to changing technology and our also betterment, so vehicles, very far and few that we hear that the vehicles have, so Mumbai rains, we are all ready for that also.
I know we're running out of time. I just wanted the panelists to think about, as we go around one last time. I want you to think about one of the messages that you want to leave our audience with. I'll start off with, and the message that I want to leave you with is that as we move through this journey of net zero supply chain, there's a lot of new things that we will discover, okay? But I think we should have confidence that as a country, we'll be able to overcome a lot of these challenges, and with the, supportive policies that we need to, push the government towards, addressing, we'll be able to, probably navigate through some of these challenges that are there. But this is the reality of today, that if we move towards net zero supply chain, it opens up, the opportunity for India, not only in India, but across the world as well, because this is something that, will be a differentiator for us. But I will like to start, if you can go around and just give your message to the audience on this topic as we summarize this.
Okay, a quick one. Maybe accept the inevitable. Net zero is the reality. Sooner we accept, the better, or else we probably have to pay a high price for that. Coming to the government policy, my only request is a parity in policy across the state governments. That would actually help us build further. Thank you.
Keep innovating, keep innovating, keep innovating every day. Every day we can innovate. Every day. Every waste material can be used. AFR, biomasses, spent acids, everything we can use for energy saving. This is my say. Every day we can save, every day we can do anything. This is my say. Everybody should do out of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Yogesh. Ramit?
Yeah, so my message largely I think to the students among you, I know there are quite a few students here. You know, you are the future, and I think in the future it's very important to remember that sustainability is the key. There is really nothing else. If there is no sustainability, if there's no, you know, there is really no future then. So please make sure that when you get into the workforce, this is something that you are actively thinking about.
Thank you, Ramit.
Yeah.
Samir?
Above and beyond all the technical things that has been said, there is no planet B. Okay, so we got one home and we need to take care of it, and we need to be the change that we want to see. If we got to become net zero, I think it will start from us. All of us individuals having that mind shift, that paradigm shift in us, that everything that we do, are we focusing, and that will be the first and the greatest step to see that thing going around into our families, into our societies, into our organizations that we work with, and in general nation at large. So I will leave that with that message.
Thank you. A round of applause for our panelists as we end this session. Thank you, everyone.